Business Sundays. I am your off-camera host, Darnell. This series is all about buying black, featuring honest conversations with black entrepreneurs like yourself on their business models, and their creative processes, and their brands. So today I have a very special guest, a good friend, and a fellow like collaborator creatively, right?
Yeah.
At this point, we definitely collaborate on a lot of different things. But I definitely want to, put your attributes out there, so I wrote them down because it's a lot, because you've really done a lot in the rap. So award-winning writer, producer, director, actor, the current director of communications and brand management at Mural Arts Philadelphia, which is crazy, and all around multi-talented artist, right?
Yeah, thank you, man.
Chad Eric Smith.
Appreciate it, bro. I'm good, man.
You good?
I feel, like you said, I feel blessed.
Hey, you already know, man. You know, we're blessed. How you feeling today?
I feel good, as you know, October was Mural Arts Month in Philadelphia, and we had like events almost every day.
Yeah.
And the fact that we were almost done, we're practically done, it feels good. It feels like really productive. It felt like we were able to, really get the job done. So
yeah.
I feel good going into November.
No. Real rap, I've seen you literally kill it this entire month, bro. Like,
Sure.
And you handled it well. And it was so many events. If anybody knows about Mural Arts Month, that'll be watching this, y'all know what's been popping. Like, an event damn near every day, probably like sometimes multiple events in a day, right?
And you did the branding for it. You know what
Ah,
I mean? Like when you talked about us collaborating. I've been in this role since April of 2021.
Yeah.
And one of the first things I did was create a brand statement and a new slogan to help demystify our tagline that art unites change. So I would meet people and they wouldn't know really necessarily what art unites change means. They don't know. They know the art was probably murals because that's in my name.
Right.
But they don't know what kind of change we do and how we're igniting it.
Right.
So I wrote a brand statement that said, Mural Arts Philadelphia exists to provide transformative experiences, progressive discourse, and economic stimulus to the city of Philadelphia through participatory public art that beautifies, advocacy that inspires, and educational programming and employment opportunities that empower. So beautify, inspire, empower became the new slogan. And you took that and ran with it with regards to the branding that we had, banners across the city of Philadelphia, the fall catalog, the fall appeal that's going out soon. So
that's great.
Big up to you, man.
Thank you. But let's talk about you, man.
Oh yeah,
let's talk about Chad Eric Smith, man.
right.
I appreciate it, but no, for sure, that collaboration was beautiful and it turned into something great. So let's talk about where creativity first began for you, man. Like, and you could take me from like a child to a teen to adulthood. Like run me through like just creating. Like where did it first start? Like what the inspiration behind creating anything? Like how did that develop?
Man, you know what? My dad once told me that he knew me before I was even born. And I think that my dad is probably one of the most creative guys I've ever met. And the fact that he knew me before I was even born just shows you the creative mind that he has as well. So I think definitely it comes from, genetics, like just being born in a family of having an Emmy Award-winning music producer as a father who's also a fine artist who can draw you to a T. I grew up with a studio in the basement of our house in Southeast DC. So we always had music playing and artists coming in and out. And I think that's why I have a knack for playing the keyboard too, and just having a musical ear, is because I've always been around music. My mom, who's creative in her own right, she went to Howard University, has a degree in English, so she's one of the best copywriters and copy editors I know. She helped me really foster my ability to write well, and really encouraged me to go into the arts, specifically the performing arts. So when I was in elementary school, I was in drama camp because of my mom, and then my dad, he really encouraged me with the music side. So growing up, I was doing kind of music and theater. I went to school without walls, senior high school in Washington, D.C. And when I was in high school, I was part of a club called Teens Against the Spread of AIDS, or TASA. And it was basically a theater troupe of teenagers, and we would just go around to junior high schools, and do like skits to teach young people about like healthy relationships, consent, sexuality, but do it through drama. And then fast forward to college, I went to the University of Pittsburgh, the Greensburg campus, and everyone thought I was a performing arts major, even though I got my degree in psychology, because I was in like 6 stage plays. Wow. I had a band on campus we were called Soothing Sensations, and so yeah, I did a stage play like pretty much every year. I was in college. My senior year, I had my first lead role in a play. It was called The House of Blue Leaves, and that was a really cool performance because it was a dark comedy that allowed for me to do drama, comedy, play the piano, and sing. Wow. So that I was able to kind of converge all my skills into one performance right before I graduated college. And then after college, I did community theater, professional theater in Pittsburgh, student films, and then independent films. Then I was an extra in Hollywood films like The Dark Knight Rises, She's Out of My League, I Am Number 4.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So I want to tell you that I definitely want to like dive into that part, right?
Yeah.
But it, like as you talk, it made me think of something. You know, saying you majored in psychology. Do you feel like majoring in psychology and studying that particular field helped you develop as a performing artist?
Oh yeah. You know, psychology is all about why we do what we do, and whether I'm portraying a character or writing a character, I'm always thinking about that. Like, why is the character motivated? What's motivating this character? And a lot of the performances I've had, I view myself as like a character actor, and I really try to change my voice, the way I move, my appearance for every role that I do. And to do that, you have to think about where is the character coming from mentally. And I think because I studied psychology, I'm more inclined to think that way. So it's not just about the words on the paper. Forget who said it. Oh, no, Jonah Hill. He once said that actors are seen, but writers are heard. Wow. Right? And so, you know, as an actor, I read what someone else wrote. That's their art form. But what I bring to it is how I interpret it and kind of the inner monologue and the subtext mentally that helps me to portray it authentically, you know? Yeah. But if I'm writing the character, I tend to try to inject a lot of psychological aspects to either the themes of the story or the character's like just disposition.
I figured I'd give St. Haley another shot. After some talking to her mother, she said, yeah. I tried to wipe away last time. It didn't happen, I tell myself. Tuesday we agree on. Tuesday just passed. I called my boy, asked for a ride to the bus station. Motherfucker shows up on time. He ain't never on time.
What has been your favorite role you played thus far?
Oh man.
Or you can take first of all, take me back to your first role and then tell me about your favorite role.
Man, my first role. Well, okay, when I was a kid, I was in The Wizard of Oz, and I played like the voice of Oz, right, behind the scenes. But as far as like my first like big audience, like kind of like young adult role, was probably my freshman year of college. I was in, it was called Picasso at the Le Pen Agile, and I had like this big afro, and the humor was it was written by Steve Martin, so it had a really quirky humor. Yeah. But my most favorite roles have been in the last few years. You know, right now we're in like Halloween season, so one of my favorite roles is a character named Abramus, which is Greek for darkness, and he's a vampire with an irrational fear of blood. Yeah. And I wrote it and directed the short film, starred in it, and it actually in 2019. It received a worldwide distribution deal through Puff Daddy's network, Revolt TV, for 3 years. Okay. Yeah, so it had this Hollywood premiere at the Chinese Theater. It was my first time being in Hollywood, which was awesome. But to be able to play a character who's a vampire, like I had acrylic nails and a lace front wig and the white eyes, that was probably one of my most fun characters.
And it turns out you are hemophobic.
Oh, no. I love the gays.
No.
Yes. A century ago, we'd be standing on the stake together.
Hemophobia is the fear of blood. Blood.
take me through the process of like preparing for that role. Like, you know, I know you wrote it, so like take me through that process a little deeper, that particular role, and preparing for that character.
Yeah, so thematically, I really enjoy irony. So I always try to figure out how to be ironic. And that actually comes from my senior year in college, when my professor and director, Dr. Shrum, he said to me one time that I wasn't as funny as he thought I was going to be after he'd given me the part. Like he said, when I was auditioning for the role in House of Blue Leaves, he was like, "You were funny doing an audition piece." He said, "But now you're not. As we're rehearsing, you're not as funny. What's going on?" And he was like, straight up. I was like, "What's going on?"
Yeah.
I said, "Well, I'm looking at the script. It's a dark comedy. You know what I mean? I see that this guy's depressed." And he said, "Chad, no one wants to watch someone be depressed. What's more interesting is watching someone who is depressed trying not to be." Now I was like, right? And it like switched up my whole thing. So instead of playing a depressed character all throughout, and in the play The House of Blue Leaves, the main character who I was playing kills his wife at the end of the stage play at the end. But if I had played him depressed all the way up to that point, it would have been predictable. But I ended up playing him kind of like manic, the opposite of depression, all the way through, so that when it happens, it's like, damn, he just broke. So I tell you that story is because that was kind of how I began thinking about irony in performance. But that's also how it translates into my writing. So I'm a big fan of actors like Gary Oldman, Jeffrey Wright, Johnny Depp, Christian Bale, people who change their looks. But actors are always at the mercy of other people's yeses. Because actors have to always go and audition and hope they get a part. So I had gone through that for a long time. So there were so many parts I wanted to play that I would never get to play unless I wrote them myself. Because you have to hope that someone writes your dream part, then have to audition for them and hope that they see in you what you see in yourself.
Right.
So that's what made me transition from being an actor to being a content creator, producer, and writer. Because I was like, I want to write the parts that I know I can play well.
Okay.
So I was watching Dark Shadows when I was trying to brainstorm, and Dark Shadows used to be I don't know if it was like 70s TV show or something like that, but it turned into a movie with Johnny Depp. And who was the director who did that? The dude who did Batman, and he works with Johnny Depp a lot.
I feel like I've never seen that movie, Dark Shadow. I'm probably no help for that joke.
But yeah, so Johnny Depp played a vampire in Dark Shadows, and I was like, I want to play a vampire. So I was like, I'm gonna play a vampire. And I was like, but what would make it interesting? Irony. So I said, what would be ironic? And I was like, a vampire who's afraid of blood. At first, I was thinking, what if I played a vampire who was a Jehovah's Witness? Because my mom was a Jehovah's Witness, and Jehovah's Witnesses don't take blood because of their beliefs. They don't believe in like the exchange of blood. But I thought that might be a little too highbrow. People wouldn't understand the nuance. But I said anyone can understand the irony of a vampire being afraid of blood. So I just went with that. Yeah. And the rest is history.
That's amazing, man. Yeah. Tell me something about Oscar Williams.
Oscar Williams.
Yeah.
So
Oscar Williams.
Yeah, Oscar Williams is definitely in my top 5 of favorite characters I've played.
Now, black people don't buy from other black people because we've all been brainwashed to think that the white businesses automatically offer better services. The moment that black people were allowed to buy from whites, that's exactly what they did. Black people don't, white people won't.
Oscar Williams is a character I played in a award-winning political drama called 4 Points. Right. And that was written and directed by Cadell Cook. Shout out to Cadell. He's another filmmaker from the DC area, which I'm from. And Oscar Williams is a pro-choice, atheist, small businessman who is just as impacted, And I did a lot of research on all those different things. And in some ways, he's kind of antagonistic to other characters in the film. But that was a lot of fun to play. He offers some comedic relief. I watched it with audiences, and people tend to laugh at certain moments. But he's so different to me in a lot of ways too. But I changed my voice for it. whole different look, glasses. Because he's an atheist, I like researched atheism, and I even like found out that atheism has its own symbol as well. So I went on eBay and like purchased a pendant that had the atheist symbol on it. So it's like the little details like that go a long way, because I'm thinking if someone else is atheist and they see it, they're like, oh damn, he wearing, you know, like he went in, you know, like as far as the detail.
That's amazing.
But yeah, definitely check out 4 Points. You know, I really want people to see that one, because it's about basically about 4 average citizens who are selected to like play in this game, like a survey game.
Yeah.
And if they can all agree on like these very divisive topics, they can win money. And by agreeing on these topics, it would help shape the policy of this new like tech genius president. But it's hard to get people to agree on things. So
this is super random. I never really do this, but until the end. But I definitely want. Where can people see that joint?
Yeah, 4 Points is on. Let's see, what is it on? It's definitely on Quelly TV.
Okay.
So I definitely and Tubi. Yeah, Tubi, and then Quelly TV. I definitely recommend checking Quelly TV out. Black-owned streaming platform. And my film Ruminations on there as well.
That's the bet. We're gonna make sure when this come out, when people get to watch, they're gonna have it on the screen, so they know. Go check it out. But okay, cool, bro. Tell me about. I think you started to go into it, the reason why, but like let's rewind. Mr. Duke Productions, right? Your production company. Tell me the mission behind it and the goal for it at this point in time.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
You know, and frankly, because of my role with Mural Arts Philadelphia as the Director of Communications and Brand Management, haven't had as much time to pour into it as I'd like. All I know that this is all a setup for a comeback, you know, just the amount of energy I'm putting into this job. I'm learning all kinds of stuff that's going to help in the long run. But, you know, I'm a big fan of Jordan Peele and his production company, Monkey Paw Productions.
Okay.
And so ideally, I would love to have my production company be able to make films and content in general that is cerebral, that's smart, and that uplifts and amplifies Black voices and Black minds. And so, and that means also putting money behind other content creators as well. So if it's not just me writing, producing my own original content, being able to support other content creators whose creativity aligns with mine, or their vision aligns with mine. But Mr. Duke Productions, I founded it in 2017 when I wrote and produced the short film Rumination, which is about a heartbroken man who travels into the past for a second chance at a failed relationship.
Yeah.
And that was inspired by heartbreak. And I just turned heartbreak into, you know, lemons into lemonade, right?
Yeah.
And then used that film to kind of birth the production company where I started producing other content. Okay. And Mr. Duke is named after my 2 childhood dogs. So Mr. is a miniature schnauzer, and Duke was a boxer. And whenever I think about those 2 dogs, it always makes me happy. So I was like, what better way to like always make myself happy by naming my company after them.
That's dope, man. I already understand like the I see why you birthed that production company. Now I can also see like how far you have to go with it. Like it's really it's limitless, right? The potential is limitless with that.
And ultimately, like if I keep going further than that, I want Mr. Duke Productions to be just one subsidiary of a larger holding company. You know, I'm really excited about like the stuff that like Nipsey Hussle was doing before his life was cut short. Yeah. The stuff that Jay-Z does currently as a billionaire with a vertical integrated business model. So ultimately, Mr. Duke Productions will be one of many businesses that I want to be able to manage, and the production company then would be able to help with the communications and branding and marketing through film and digital media for the other companies that would be a part of this larger umbrella business.
That sound like NBC. Sound like what Bill Cosby trying to say no. He trying to buy NBC. But no, man. Yo, can you tell us about like I was doing my research and I want the people to know about like dark therapy. Tell us more about that. Yeah. And what it means to you.
Yeah, dark therapy. You know, there's this joke in it about mumbo sauce, and mumbo sauce is like a condiment you can find at pretty much every carryout in DC. And for me, it was important to have humor that was really specific. I was looking at an interview with John Singleton, and he said that when he made Boys in the Hood, he wasn't making it for like a worldwide audience. He was making it for a specific audience about a specific story. And he found that the more specific you are, the more universal you end up being anyway, right? So when I try to tell stories, I don't mind saying something that's so specific that only a few people might get it, because ultimately more people will get it than you realize. I think it's when you do it the other way around, when you try to make boilerplate storytelling where it seems to be like for a general audience, it loses some specialness to it. So when I screened Dark Therapy at the Chinese Theater in LA, people laughed all throughout. But the people who were from DC, who were sitting in the audience, came up to me afterwards like, man, like for real, like for sure, like I'm telling you, like when I saw like Dark Therapy and whatever, and you had like the mumbo sauce, I was like, yeah. And it meant even more to me that like something so specific would resonate. But yeah, Dark Therapy won all kinds of awards. It's like the gift that keeps on giving, because it is a vampire comedy but has horror elements in it, and so every time Halloween comes around, it usually gets more views. People watch it a lot more. And so yeah,
that's amazing, man. So like you touched on, winning awards. So I want to stay in that pocket.
Yeah. And
you even started talking about rumination. And tell us about the people who don't know about rumination. Fully, so it's a short film, right?
Yeah, your rumination is about 13-minute short film.
13 minutes.
Yeah.
So before I even get into that question, I want to ask, because I just want to know, like, do you find like creating short films is, simpler or easier, or is it harder than longer form films?
Well, I don't know if it's harder, but it just takes less time. You know, I mean, if you do a short film well, it still has all the elements that a feature film would have. It just takes you less time to do it.
To tell a story in minimal time, I would only suppose you gotta be super creative, to hit certain points and to make sure you deliver the message that's in your mind. And under what you said, it was 13 minutes. So to be able to tell the story that quickly and it resonates to the audience.
If anything, maybe that's more of a challenge, right? To be able to hit the point in a short amount of time. Although I've seen a lot of feature films where there's a lot of scenes in there, like they could have done without that scene, done without the scene, and get to the point.
I agree.
I like the short film format mainly because it's something you could do. Like I shot Dark Therapy in one day, and it's still, people love it, Rumination I shot in 3 days. Okay. Most of the time is, for me, is pre-production of the writing of it, preparing for the shoot, and then the post-production, which is the editing, the sound design, the score. But feature films, you have to worry about a much longer length of time for the production itself.
Right.
And so I haven't done a feature film as far as directing or writing one. I've written and directed, episodic series and music videos and PSAs and political campaign ads. So I've gotten good at doing short form things. But ultimately, feature films is where people make money, because the longer the running time, the more money you can make typically.
Okay, so definitely in the future.
At some point, it has to make sense,
Nah, for sure,
but I think short films is a really good way to practice in the meantime.
So back to rumination, right?
Let's ruminate on it.
You gotta tell me about the awards, right? Because that's a highly coveted, short film for you, right? From the message to even putting it out in the film festival. So over 30 film festivals, right? 20 awards, right? So talk about that, man. How did it feel, bro?
Man, it felt good, in 2015, I went through this really hard heartbreak where I was in a relationship for 5 years, and it ended with my ex breaking up with me with a handwritten letter, and we lived together, and then a few months later, I found out she's pregnant and about to get married and moved on, So for me to deal with it, I just started writing my thoughts on paper, And so what started off as a journal of my intimate thoughts turned into dialogue in a screenplay. I remember writing, since the breakup, I can hardly sleep. I'm having dreams about her almost every night. I've seen a therapist. I'm on anti-anxiety meds, depression meds. I feel broken. Memories of her taunt me, like lint under a black light, stuff like that. And then all that stuff ended up becoming the exact words that the lead character, played by Kelvin Drama, says in the movie when he meets up with this quirky neuroscientist who says that if you take this pill and go to sleep, you'll wake up before the breakup, so you can try this again.
I feel broken. Her memories taught me like lint under a black light, And I just wish I could be somewhere else so that
you take yourself with you wherever you go. Where you are isn't the problem. Time is. They say it heals all wounds, but who wants a scar tissue? Scar tissue.
Back then, when I was going through my own grief, I was like, damn, I wish I could go back in time. I wish I could do this different. Wish I could do that different. And what I was doing was ruminating. And I didn't even know what rumination was until I went to see a therapist. I recommend all your viewers, therapy is good.
Yes.
But I went to a therapist and was just learning about like myself and like why I was reacting why my reaction was so strong to the heartbreak. And that's when I looked over at a pamphlet, and it was about like anxiety and depression, and it said rumination was like a psychological word for thinking about something over and over and over again. And that's when I realized I was doing it as well. It's not a positive thing. So I flipped that on its head and made it kind of like a cerebral time travel film. And so I started writing at the end of 2015, kind of revisited in 2016, shot it in 3 days in 2017, and then it hit the film festival circuit from like 2018 to like 2019 time.
Yeah.
And by that point, I had been removed enough from the heartbreak that I could talk about the film and the heartbreak together in a way that was actually, I think, helpful to me cathartically, but also to other people, because one thing that it does is it shows a black man grieving from heartbreak, which you don't see very often. A lot of times you know, in popular culture, when it comes to masculinity, you see men who you don't see them outwardly grieving, you just see them like being promiscuous or doing a behavior that is, not necessarily healthy.
Yeah. So
to me, I thought it was profound that I was able to like do this interesting time travel short film, but really make it about like what not to do. Like the rumination isn't a good thing. That it's to be depressed is to be living in the past. To be anxious is to be living in the future. But to be at peace is to be in the present.
Right.
And that's ultimately like what I want people to get out of it. So I think that's why it won so many awards, is because for it to be 13 minutes, it was, I think, packed with a lot of depth. And it had a dope score too. Like my dad did the music for the film. And he used binaural beats. I said I wanted him to use like sleep aid technology, like to make it real cerebral. So people listen to it with like headphones or with surround sound. They're like, damn, this shit's intense, So it had a lot of things going for it.
That's amazing.
And the performances were great. Kelvin Drama killed it as the lead character. Danny Gavigan was winning all kinds of awards as well as this quirky scientist. And then Angus Winfield, she plays the girlfriend in the film.
Okay. So when you're creating these films, right, how do you go about casting people? Like how do you go about that process? You already have people in mind when you're writing?
Yeah. I've definitely directed like episodic stuff where we've had people, we put out a casting call. I sit behind the table and I watch people audition in front of me, but that was typically works that were written by someone else and I was just directing it. But stuff that I write, I tend to have a person in mind. Excuse me, I typically have people in mind as I'm writing it. And then I, say, hey, look, this is something I want you to check out. Tell me if you think it's something you'd be interested in. I was thinking about you as I was writing it. That's usually a good way to get an actor to be like, all right, I'll check it out.
Because I would feel honored. Like, damn, you think about me, so I can only imagine how that feels. So, okay, let's just to touch on the feeling of winning awards. Like, does that matter for you? Like, in any way,
It definitely feels good. I mean, I don't think I've ever met anyone who has won an award and didn't enjoy the feeling it gives you to know that you won. Whether it's best screenplay or best director or best actor, it makes you feel good. It makes you feel validated. It makes you feel like the work you did. But I've also not won awards for performances or pieces that I've done where I felt just the same. Like I felt like I deserved it, and I didn't get it, and so that can be disappointing. So I think at the end of the day, you have to be more happy with the work you did than the accolades, because it's so subjective.
Right.
You go into a film festival. I've been to film festivals where, like, it was clear they saved my film for last because it just looked like everything leading up to it was like a crescendo of quality and leading up to mine. And then I've been to other festivals where like my film, the same film, a part of a program was like just okay compared to some of the other quality. I was like, damn, like the category of films that it's accompanied with was like so good. I was like, damn, I gotta step my shit up, So it's so subjective. You never know. It just depends on the caliber of the film festival, the year, who's also submitted at the same time. You just never really know. Because I definitely, for all the films that I got into and all the awards I won, there were a bunch of festivals that I didn't even get into. So I might win an award at this festival for best short film, and then this festival didn't even accept the film. So it really brings some humility to the process.
Yeah,
yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like I want to switch it to like something funner that you actually touched on earlier when you did the impersonation of like somebody from your hometown of DC, right? So like you be doing impressions, bro. Like I've actually heard you do a couple. What's your favorite? Who's your favorite person to impersonate? And if you don't mind, I mean, let me get a little bit up.
Yeah. For a long time, it used to be Bill Cosby. That was my go-to, impression. Like I even played him in a stage play at Pitt. But everyone thinks it's dark humor now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think my most enjoyable impression is Barack Obama, President Obama, because I was just really in awe of him when he hit the scene, like just his intellect, how thoughtful he was. And so I played him in a stage play. It was called McBush. It was a play on Macbeth, but it was like dealing with like the Bush administration and some of the characters from there, like Condoleezza Rice and Colin Powell, and so I played Obama at the end. So I had to study him, watching YouTube videos, watching how he walks, how he talks, and then I got to meet him when he ran for president. And then I used to give ghost tours behind the White House, and I would do an impression of him behind the White House for like 3 years as part of my ghost tour. So I kind of perfected it. So here it is. Without further ado, President Obama. It's like, here's the thing. Last night, me and Michelle were talking about how we as Americans need to do better. So if anyone ever tells you you can't do something, you tell them something that sums up the spirit of a people. Yes, you can.
Yeah, bravo, bro. That shit is great, man. No, we're back. You nice with it, man. Multi-talented, bro, for real. Like I can't even, like every time you do something, like you be telling me about certain things. I'm like, bro, like what? Is there anything you can't do? Like, is there anything you can't do? I don't know if you ever seen Boondock. There was this one on like when Ryder like, is there anything you can't do, nigga? Like,
that's funny.
But
I'm a big fan of Jamie Foxx, and I met him too. And that's part of the reason why I started playing the piano, was because I was like, damn, I love how he could be funny, but he also can play the piano, and I was like, I want to be able to do that, Yeah. And so, but yeah, he can do drama, he can do comedy, he can like play characters, he can do voices, he can make music. So that's the kind of person I want to be. It's like, and that's why I kind of synthesize all that I do into storytelling. Like music is what feelings sound like, and so I just express myself in different ways, whether it be playing the piano, writing, directing, producing, acting.
Multi-faceted, bro. So let's talk about some people who have inspired you, man. Like who are your inspirations in or outside of your creative field?
Well, definitely Jamie Foxx for sure. I mentioned Johnny Depp and Jeffrey Wright earlier. just as people who have a lot of range and versatility.
Is it any like, do you have like certain categories, so like, let's say like actors or directors specifically, or you know, if you can just talk about writers too, like
writers and directors. I like Christopher Nolan. You know, I really love movies like you know, Inception and Interstellar. Really like cerebral type stuff. Actors: Denzel Washington, Johnny Depp, Jamie Foxx, Will Smith. Music: Prince, Jay Dilla. Politics: Obama. You know, like as far as like leadership goes. Who else? I like Antoine Fuqua. I think he's a great director. Training Day.
Yeah, that was an amazing movie. No, that's an amazing name. So like, you talked about, you know, meeting quite a few people who've inspired you, who you're influenced by. But you told me like off camera about other people. So like, if you could just think about like one of your fondest memories of meeting like somebody you were inspired by, like who is it and what's that fond memory?
Well, I once got on stage with Prince.
For real?
Yeah, didn't you know?
No.
Yeah, and that was, you know, I didn't get to have a conversation with him, but to be like in his presence, and I sang on the mic next to him.
What the?
What? Random as hell. Crazy. It was like 2006, and he came to DC, and you know, you couldn't have your phone. It was very like private. And he and his band, they were doing a cover to Play That Funky Music, White Boy. And he was like, who knows the lyrics to the song? And I didn't know the lyrics to the song, but I raised my hand like everybody else, and just my luck, his background dancer, they were called the Twins, pulled me up on the stage. And so, you know, they started playing the music, and I went straight into the chorus, which is not how the song starts. And I was like, Play That Funky Music, White Boy. And everyone in the audience started booing me. You know, Prince was standing there right next to me, like, everyone started booing me. They said, "Boo, get off the stage!" And then Prince walked up to the microphone and said, "Kids, don't do drugs."
Yo.
Yeah, he like made fun of me.
That's amazing.
And he said, "Who else knows the lyrics to the song?" So a big woman came up and she knew the lyrics. You could tell she knew. And she started singing, and I just kind of like stayed on the stage next to him for a little while after I had like failed miserably next to Prince, and then they told me to get my ass off the stage. That was probably one of the most memorable performances. But yeah, I met John Amos, been to, you know, some good times, and went to one of his training acting workshops. You know, Jamie Foxx I've met, Danny Glover I've met, Will Smith. No, did I meet Will Smith? No, not Will Smith. I wish, probably in a dream I've met Will Smith. Someday. But I've met a lot of different people. T.C. Carson from Living Single. Hung out at his crib, you know.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so that was really cool. I was hanging with Mr. Cooper.
It's ironic, right?
In Martha's Vineyard, you know. So yeah, I've met a lot of really interesting people over the years, and that's part of what makes me feel like I'm on the right track, because I keep on like rubbing elbows with people who have done really great things in their own right.
Right. No, listen, you are the company you keep, right?
Yeah.
And I want to talk about. I have a thing where I always talk about this with everybody, like wins and losses, right? But honestly, like for me, I don't believe in a loss. I just believe in a lesson, right? So if you could talk about both things, so like I'll form it like, what's your greatest achievement thus far?
My greatest achievement thus far? Well, probably real talk, professionally, it might be having become the first man and first person of color to be the director of communications and brand management at MUSICA Philadelphia in its 35 plus year history. Because, you know, Philadelphia is the mural capital of the world because of all the work the organization has done over the years. And for the organization to be so esteemed in that way, and then for me to be able to lead the comms team and the shaping of the narrative of all the various ways that we beautify, inspire, and empower.
Right.
I think that is probably one of my biggest achievements to date. And I love that it's connected to art, which is what I am, an artist, and allows for me to do all the things that I do well, kind of as part of my day job, you know, with regards to like writing. I've even been able to create videos and shoot content,
right,
and produce content for the organization in-house, saving the organization some money,
right,
but also adding to my portfolio along the way.
Yeah.
So
you just sharpening your skills.
Yeah. So I feel like that. I mean, but I don't take anything I've done for granted. Like I feel like every role I've played, every script I've written, everything I've produced. Earlier this year, I produced 2 political campaign ads for 2 different candidates who won their nomination, which means they're shoo-in as Democrats here in the city. So to be able to say that I was able to help kind of create, be a part of that was like, it's big too. So yeah, I've had a lot of great things happen here.
That's heavy. So what's your greatest lesson? Your greatest lesson in life so far? My
greatest lesson is that hard work pays off. You know, you don't know the timing of it. One of my favorite quotes, I love quotes. It's from Denzel Washington. He said, "True desire in the heart for anything good, it's God's proof to you, sent beforehand to indicate that it's yours already." I love that quote because I think it's true. I think that like all is mind. You really focus on something long enough, you can manifest it. Of course, you got to do hard work and have consistency and discipline. But I have found that just about everything that I want, I've been able to get in one way or another. And I think it is metaphysical to a certain extent.
Yo, I truly believe that. Actually, I was having a conversation with somebody. I'm like, yo, like anything I've ever wanted, like, I got it.
Yeah.
Like, literally.
Yeah, I mean, and, you know, when I was a kid, I always thought about being, like, famous, household name. It's not to say that that won't happen necessarily, but what I can say is that everything that famous people have done, I've been able to do on my own level. You know what I mean? Like, I've been on television, you know.
Right.
I've been in the movies,
right,
both Hollywood and independent films. I've won awards in different categories. I've made music, you know, I've done voiceover work, you know, so I feel like the success I've had has been very satisfying thus far, and I just feel like it's all, you know, uphill from here.
You've been married how long? 9 years. Doesn't mean I know nothing.
But you two are good, right?
Yeah, I got it good.
So how do you do it?
I don't know, you just have to find your own rhythm, you know, the two of you, just for you. Then play jazz. You know, you gotta be friends. And then, you know, every once in a while, have sex with her in the backseat of your car so you don't feel, you know, like roommates.
I want to talk about, you know, making history, the history you made with Mural Arts, right? Being the first man and person of color to be a director, right? In that role of communications and brand management.
Yeah.
So how does it feel to literally make history?
You know, it feels cool. You know, it's not anything that I don't think has gotten much fanfare. You know, I don't know how many people know about that or care. You know, like you know, it's like sometimes you just make mental notes of the type of successes you have in life, and then keep it moving because not everyone's going to take the time out to acknowledge it, right? But I think it's a good thing for the organization. I think that the comms team now reflects that choice because it's now the most diverse communications department in the organization's history. And I've worked at nonprofits for over a decade in which I'd be working with folks, and I would often wonder why the organization, and you know, no names, but I've worked at previous organizations where the development or the communication team were so white, for lack of better words, but were shaping narratives about people of color, black people, and communities they were serving. And I always wondered to myself, why do they have the credibility or the authentic voice to be able to shape those narratives? I always thought at the very minimum they need to have some more diversity behind the laptop, you know, behind the computer. So to be able to be in a position to be able to bring a different emotional intelligence and a cultural lens to the work, I'm already seeing how that is helping things slowly but surely in a very diverse city, like Philadelphia.
Yeah, I think it's so important. So, like, shout out to you for making history each and every day. And yeah, you're right. I think being in Philadelphia, it's such a diverse city, right? Organizations, every organization should reflect that.
Yeah.
Right. That'd be crazy. Like I'm in an organization and I'm in one of the blackest cities in America, right?
Yeah.
And not have any people of color, black people in higher positions in executive roles, right?
Yeah.
And
like this time last year, the entire communication department at MUSICA was white.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not to say that that's not an indictment on the individuals who made up the department. Like they were all great and competent in their roles. But I do think that there is something, there's something different that is now being brought to the organization because of having a more diverse department. That I think is an asset,
Yes, sir.
So
I agree. So yeah, I want to go and see who you are as a multi-talented, multi-faceted artist, right? Because you touched on it, being a pianist and you make beats too, right? Producer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you gotta talk about that. Like talk about you yourself as a musician, and where do you see that going in your life at this point?
Yeah, I love music. I started playing music in high school, and I played by ear. I'm a huge fan of Jay Dilla. May he rest in peace. I think he died in like early 2000s, like 06 or something like that, from like a rare blood disease. But he is like the sound behind a lot of my favorite musical artists, from Common, Slum Village, Erykah Badu, Bilal. So I listen to his music a lot. That really inspires me. And then I'm also a big Prince fan. I love how he's able to play different instruments, and he's just really creative.
Yeah.
And then my dad being a music producer, so I was always around it.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a SoundCloud, and I just usually make music, and I put my beats up there so people can kind of listen. I haven't been able to make music much since I started this job, but I definitely want to get back into it, get some new equipment. Ideally, I would love to be able to have like my music be a part of like film scores. Like, in fact, there is a song called Klexos, and it stands for the art of dwelling on the past, and that song is in Rumination. So, after the opening scene, there's this like long musical passage, and I did all the music for it. I produced all that music myself. So, man, I love collaborating with musical artists. I love like jam sessions, especially when I get a drummer, get a singer or a rapper, get behind the keys, and we just like jam out.
Yeah.
It's just, for me, it's very therapeutic ultimately.
Word, bro. Yeah, I agree. Like being an artist myself and making music.
You got a keyboard?
I don't got a keyboard. Listen, I never knew. Like I tried to play the piano. I think I could have if I would have really got down with it, but I didn't. I used to play the violin. I played the drums. So I've definitely dabbled in instruments. I used to play the bass guitar.
Okay, me too. Yeah, I got a candy red bass at home.
Yeah, I probably gotta get one again just cause like that joint was sweet. That joint was hot.
Yeah.
But man, so let's talk about legacy, man, because you are this multifaceted artist, person, human being. What do you want your legacy to be when it's all said and done?
I just want my legacy to be that the people I interacted with felt good after I left the room.
Shit, that's all you need, right? I ain't even added that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Because I don't know what happens after you die.
Right.
Some people believe that the dead are conscious of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's the case, then I guess it won't really matter. But I think the way you make a person feels is, to me, more important than any content I can create.
That's real rap.
Because I can create content that's amazing, but it won't matter if people think I'm an asshole or if I hurt people or harm people in some way. Yeah. I mean, look at Cosby's legacy and how that was tarnished by allegations of how he treated people. So I think that for me, I want my legacy to be that he was a good person, that he did right by people, that he uplifted and amplified other people's voices and talents, and that he did all those things along the way while also being able to create dope shit too. So
no, and that will allow your dope shit that you've created to live on forever, you know, in the hearts and minds of people.
Right.
Because they respect you as this kind of person. So be kind to people, for real. I always agree with being kind. Like, you, it's just the most important thing in life.
Yeah.
So, you know, I feel like, you know, we're getting to the point where I want to, you know, wrap up a little bit. But best piece of advice, if you could talk to, like, specifically black kids, right, who want to be in front of the camera or behind the camera, what would be your best piece of advice for them to, you know, get started, and while they're started, to, like, continue to stay inspired?
Well, be intellectually curious at all times. You know, everyone has, like, a computer basically in their pockets, right? And anything you want to know, you can literally find on the internet, for good or for bad. And, you know, when I was a kid, I had to go to the library and use the Dewey Decimal System. But now you can just Google it, you know. And YouTube, for example, has a lot of videos on how to do screenwriting, on acting, on directing, on editing, sound design, cinematography. So you can literally teach yourself the things that you want to learn. I mean, I don't even know how important, or rather how necessary, going to film school is these days with the technology that we have with our phones, and with the amount of resources that exist on the internet. So staying intellectually curious and being nimble about where you can find this information is important. Networking goes a long way. You know, it's not just about who you know, but it's about who knows you. So being able to be confident and rubbing elbows and being assertive about who you are. And then always write down your thoughts. My mom always says, like, you have an interesting thought, an idea, write it down, because you can forget your ideas if you don't. But if you write it down and then return to it later, it'll be like you're collaborating with your past self. And that's what I found, is that, like, sometimes I'll work on some things to write down, and then, like, when I have some free time, I'll go back months, even years, in my phone. I'm like, damn, and I'll read something I wrote. I'm like, damn, that's really profound. I wrote that, you know, like, it's just a different version of me. And so then I'll, like, bring it back to the surface and be like, all right, what can I do with this, you know? And it ends up being some line, a script, or a T-shirt, or some idea, you know. And then it's like, damn, this is something my past self gave to me.
Right. Yeah. No, that's dope. That's important. Shit, I definitely went along those lines of, like, returning to old things that I've written, and I open it up and, like, damn, I could still fuck with this. Yeah. So that's amazing advice. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
For, you know, talking to the youngins and giving that good inspiration. Before we do close, I want you to definitely tell the people where they can find you, where they can find your work. You can plug the website for sure, please do. And if they want to follow you on social media,
Yeah. So definitely check out my website. I've been working on it for years now, so I feel like it has a lot of my content, like a digital portfolio. So that's www.MrDukeProductions, and that's MISTERDUKE Productions.com. You can follow Mr. Duke Productions on Instagram. You can follow me at I am Chad Eric Smith, and on Twitter at Chad Eric Smith, and then Facebook Chad Eric Smith. And I love, like, when people reach out and want to collab and talk about ideas. I consult too, so if people want to just, like, pick my brain and chat about something they're doing. I've helped create and produce book trailers for people. I've adapted a book into a screenplay for people. Like, I've done all kinds of projects because other people have brought their passions to me. And so I love it when I'm able to, like, help foster that, you know. But yeah, I mean, you can Google me too, Chad Eric Smith. I mean, you can learn all about me. And I guess the last thing I want to say is just, like, just do whatever makes you happy, you know, like, whatever makes you, whatever you're passionate about, do that. Because, you know, we could fail doing the things that we don't want to do. So we might as well try doing the things we love.
Right. Well, with that said, I appreciate you, Chad. Thank you for doing this interview with me. Once again, everybody, award-winning actor, producer, filmmaker, director, Chad Eric Smith. This is Small Business Sundays. Peace.